Have you ever wondered about the origins of the land of the rising sun, Japan? Let's take a captivating journey back in time, some 16,000 years to be precise, to the Jomon period. This era, spanning from around 14,000 BC to about 300 BC, marks the first known habitation of the Japanese archipelago. This was a time when Japan was predominantly a hunter-gatherer society. The people of this period were remarkably resourceful, relying on the bounty of the land and sea for their sustenance. They hunted, fished, and foraged for their food, demonstrating an intimate knowledge of their natural environment. But what truly set the Jomon people apart was their exquisite pottery skills. They created earthenware vessels with intricate cord-marked patterns, a characteristic feature that gave this era its name, Jomon, meaning cord-marked in Japanese. These pottery pieces, some of the oldest in the world, provide a fascinating glimpse into the creative spirit and the aesthetic sensibilities of the Jomon people. But as the wheel of time turned, so did the lifestyles of the people living on these islands. Around 300 BC, the Yayoi period ushered in a new era of innovation and societal change. The introduction of wet rice farming during this period marked a significant shift from the hunting and gathering lifestyle of the Jomon period. This new form of agriculture not only provided a stable food supply, but also set the stage for the development of a more complex society. The Yayoi period saw the formation of social classes with clear distinctions between the elite and the commoners. This stratification was a clear departure from the egalitarian society of the Jomon era and marked the beginning of a hierarchical system that would shape Japan's societal structure for centuries to come. From the early settlers in the Jomon period to the societal developments of the Yayoi period, Japan's history was off to a fascinating start. And this was merely the dawn of Japan, with many more intriguing chapters of its history yet to unfold. So how did Japan evolve from a collection of tribes to a unified nation? Our journey takes us to the Kofun period, roughly between the years 300 to 538 AD. This era witnessed the rise of powerful clan structures which played a pivotal role in shaping Japan's early socio-political landscape. These clans, each vying for power and influence, laid the groundwork for a more unified society. Emerging from this melee was the Yamato clan. By the 5th century, they had established dominance over much of Honshu, Japan's largest island. The Yamato's rule marked a significant shift towards a centralized government model, a crucial step towards nationhood. Parallel to these political developments was a spiritual revolution. Around the mid-6th century, during the Asuka period, Buddhism was introduced to Japan via the Korean peninsula. This was a transformative moment in Japan's cultural evolution. Buddhism not merely offered new religious perspectives, but also brought with it advances in art, architecture, and philosophy. The Asuka period, spanning 538 to 710 AD, was also a time of considerable administrative reform. Inspired by the Chinese Tang dynasty, the Japanese rulers implemented the Taika reforms, a series of edicts aimed at strengthening the central government. These reforms reinforced the emperor's authority and marked the beginning of Japan's transition to a more bureaucratic state. But the Asuka period had another significant contribution to Japan's cultural fabric, the birth of written Japanese history. The Kojiki and Nihon Shoki, Japan's oldest surviving texts, were composed during this era. These chronicles, filled with myths, legends, and historical accounts, provided a narrative of Japan's origins and offered a sense of identity to its people. In the span of a few centuries, Japan had transformed from a tribal society into a burgeoning nation. The foundations laid during the Kofun and Asuka periods would continue to influence Japanese society, politics, and culture for centuries to come. The seeds sown during these formative years were crucial in shaping the nation we now know as Japan. In the span of a few centuries, Japan had transformed from a tribal society into a burgeoning nation. What comes to mind when you think of Japan's medieval times? Perhaps it's the samurai and shoguns. The Kamakura period, spanning from the 12th to the 14th century, marked the rise of the samurai class. These warriors, renowned for their martial prowess and strict adherence to the code of Bushido, were more than just fighters. They were also scholars, poets, and politicians. During this era, the shogunate or military government was established, shifting power away from the traditional court aristocracy to the samurai. Following the Kamakura period, the Muromachi period unfolded from the 14th to the 16th century. This era was characterized by political instability and continuous warfare, known as the Sengoku period or the Age of Warring States. Despite the turmoil, it was during this time that many of Japan's cultural hallmarks, such as tea ceremony, no theater, and the Zen aesthetic, flourished and became deeply ingrained in society. In the 17th century, Japan entered the Edo period, a time of relative peace and stability under the rule of the Tokugawa shogunate. However, this era is also noted for its isolationist policies known as sakoku, where foreign influence was heavily restricted, and Japan remained largely closed off to the outside world for over 200 years. Yet, despite the isolation, it was a time of significant cultural and intellectual growth, with the rise of popular art forms such as ukiyo-e, or woodblock prints, and kabuki theater. But what impact did these eras have on Japan's culture and society? The samurai and shogunate system shaped Japan's societal structure, establishing a hierarchy based on military prowess and discipline. The isolationist policies of the Edo period fostered a distinct and unique culture that remains influential to this day. The shoguns and samurai have left an indelible mark on Japan's history, shaping its culture and society in profound ways. From the martial arts to the tea ceremony, their influence resonates through the centuries, reminding us of a time when honor, duty, and discipline were the cornerstones of society. Now, how did Japan transition from a feudal society to a modern, industrialized nation? This question takes us to the Meiji Restoration, a period that began in 1868 and ended in 1912. This era marked a significant turning point in Japanese history, signaling the end of the feudal shogunate system and the beginning of a centralized modern state. The Meiji Restoration was characterized by rapid westernization and modernization. Japan, once a secluded island nation, opened its doors to foreign influences, embracing Western technology, ideas, and even fashion. The government implemented reforms in various sectors, including education, military, and industry, which laid the foundation for Japan's future success. However, this rapid modernization came with its own set of challenges. The late 19th and early 20th centuries witnessed a militarization of Japan that led the nation into World War II. This period was marked by territorial ambitions and a nationalistic fervor that eventually resulted in devastation and defeat. Yet in the ashes of World War II, the indomitable spirit of the Japanese people shone through. The post-war reconstruction period saw Japan rise from the rubble, rebuilding its economy, infrastructure, and international reputation. The government implemented a series of reforms, focusing on education, technology, and manufacturing sectors. By the second half of the 20th century, Japan had emerged as a global economic powerhouse. It became the world's second-largest economy, renowned for its technological innovations and high-quality products. Companies like Sony, Toyota, and Nintendo became household names around the world, symbolizing Japan's economic success. In the 21st century, Japan continues to lead in technology and innovation, while also grappling with issues like an aging population and economic stagnation. However, the nation's resilience and ingenuity, proven time and again throughout its history, give hope for a bright future. From a closed, feudal society to a leading global power, Japan's journey is a testament to the resilience and ingenuity of its people. This tale of transformation is a fascinating chapter in the annals of world history, and it's far from over. Japan's story continues to unfold, promising new lessons and insights for the world.